Welcome to another episode of Garage Talk. I'm DJ Flook.
I am Eric Richardson.
And I wish I would get the monitor or the microphone position right before we'd start the show, but this is always something I seem to do. So, Eric, we did not have a Wednesday night dash this week. We had a exhibition, a recruiting race, whatever you want to call it. And it was interesting, to say the least.
Yeah, this is very interesting. I was looking forward to it. We had 14 drivers in there. I was looking forward to a really fun race, but kind of got blown up there on the first lap and the first 5 laps.
It did. There was a we call him a troll. I don't know. I mean, it was just really weird situation. You know, when we do our recruiting races, we leave them open because we want to try to bring in people, and you know, we do Wednesday night dash rules. We want you to race with us. But there were a couple of individuals that found their way in, and I don't know if they were in our Discord or if they just happened to see it on the hosted screen and invited themselves in and proceeded to take out the field, or as much of the field as they could, and then bolt.
Yes. This is lap 1, turns 3 and 4. We had car going below the line and came back up, and I think collected 5 cars. I got through that one, but then I think it was lap 6. Car was wrecked on the backstretch, drove 90 degrees across the backstretch, and
I almost
speed I can react.
I was far enough back that I almost got taken out. And I actually went up against the wall, and I was probably as close to the wall as you could get without scraping it. And I still just barely squeaked by this car that was coming up the track. And then they bolted. So I have their names. You are on our ban list. So
yeah. So any of you that are looking at coming to join us, race clean, race hard. We have fun, but do shenanigans like that, and you'll find yourself not there.
And we have some disagreements with, it was your fault. You cut me off, and that's going to happen. But
yeah, we get that. It's racing.
Yeah.
Watch Formula One at the end of every week, and there's something going on.
Yeah. I mean, you can't have a NASCAR. You can't have a NASCAR race, or it seems like for the longest time you couldn't have a NASCAR race without somebody getting upset with someone, calling them an idiot, throwing a helmet at them, confronting him in the parking lot after the race. I mean, it's kind of a culture of the sport. But
yeah, racing's racing. You're gonna bump and bang and fight it out next week.
Yep. So we'll talk more about next week at the end of the show. But moving on to our pros segment, we had some road racing.
It's a very road race weekend.
So we first had Tyler Reddick finally break through. He had a couple of close ones earlier this year.
Bristol Dirt.
Yeah, Bristol Dirt. I think it was Chase Briscoe took him out in the on the last lap.
Yeah, just sent it in there, and they got in and got sideways with that one. But congratulations to Tyler.
Yeah, hey, you want to hear another fact here? I saw. This is the first time the number 8 car has won a race in the Cup Series in 16 years.
Really?
And the last number 8 to win was Dale Jr.
Yeah.
It's been that long.
Junior.
It's been that long.
It's amazing how long he's been out.
And honestly, if you ask me to name who drove the number 8 in between, it's was it Eric Almirola? Didn't he drive the 8 briefly for a while?
I don't know about there, but I can tell you the car before Junior, the Circuit City car.
Oh yeah, with
Strickland.
It's just out of view, but I've got two Hut Strickland. One's a Chevy, one's a Ford. Actually, he switched. But anyway, congratulations to him. Another crazy fact I saw today is that 27 out of 32 full-time drivers in the Cup Series have won at least one race, which is
that's impressive.
That's an amazing stat.
A lot of parity in the driving.
It doesn't matter. I don't know if it's the car. I mean, I think they've said 13 first-time winners this year or something like that. Or that can't be right. I mean, there's
I don't remember right off.
some crazy stat about or different winners.
13 it's 13 different winners.
13 different winners.
Out of the
thank
18
you.
races.
Yeah, so it's a lot of parity. I don't know if it's the car or what's going on this year, but I mean, you look and you see,
there's just a lot of talented drivers coming up.
Yeah, and
that helps.
People pick on like Michael McDowell, for example, but I mean, for years we watched Michael McDowell and it's like, oh, Michael McDowell's running 32nd and he's running 34th. And then, he wins Daytona last year. And then now it's like he's running in the top 10 fairly regularly now, which is awesome. That's so great to see.
I think sometimes just getting that win or really good run just does a lot in building that confidence and going, hey, maybe I can run with these guys. I shouldn't be a 32nd place car. I can run top 10. I think it just does a lot to help that confidence.
And, I think that's one thing, and this might be a controversial opinion, but I mean, I love Formula One, but it does get kind of tiring every week. And this is probably going to upset some people, but it does get tiring on a weekly basis to see, okay, is Red Bull going to win? Is Ferrari going to win?
Pretty much.
Mercedes hasn't won this year yet, but it's just like, last year they had one. There was one that was just really obscure. I'm drawing a blank on who.
I can't.
No, it wasn't one of the AlphaTauri guys.
It was Gasly that won, wasn't it?
Gasly did win one. I mean, he's a good driver, though. I mean, he's been trying to get his way into Red Bull for the last couple of years. And I guess there were thoughts that, if Perez left, that he would be the one to backfill in that spot. But anyway, we'll talk about Formula One. We got a lot to talk about in Formula One this week. IndyCar, Scott McLaughlin wins the Honda Indy 200 at Mid-Ohio. Our friend Hunter Hughes, who raced with us, finished second in our race last night. That's his local track. He went to the race, and he has been super pumped this week about fist bumping Jimmy Johnson, which I can't blame him. I'd be super pumped about that too.
Be pretty cool with that too.
I think Mark Vickers said, "Don't wash that hand." Good advice. Well, maybe not good advice.
Depends who you talk to.
Yeah. Anyway, just what we've been going through the last 2 years about hand washing, and maybe not. So I didn't really get a chance to watch this one very much, so I don't really have a ton to say about it. Is there anything that really stood out from this race? I mean, I guess the Andretti incident with all the Andretti cars.
Yeah, they were having some issues. I don't know if it was just all of them as a whole or Romain Grosjean.
Yeah, Grosjean
get into it a lot.
He took out, I think in like back-to-back laps, he hit
Rossi got involved.
He got Rossi, and then I think he got Colton hurt on like the next lap or 2 laps later or something like that. And finally, like Michael Andretti said, okay, family meeting, and sounds like he tore everyone a new one and said, we're not going to be doing this crap. And I guess we'll see in a couple of weeks in Toronto.
I got to watch that race. It was a lot of fun. One thing that really jumped out, the McLaren cars actually both suffered electrical failures while running in the top 3. It was something, they were losing power and couldn't run different map settings. The overall was really good race. It was fun to watch.
I'm excited to see Toronto. That's one of my favorite road courses on the schedule. I don't know why, but it's just, I'm looking forward to that here in a couple of weeks, and we'll see what, the Andretti drama carries over. Formula One.
Another first-time winner last week.
Yes, Carlos Sainz. He had like the second most starts before his first win or something like that.
Yeah, I think maybe 150 actually.
It was like 150, yeah. And I think Sergio Perez was 190 or something like that before he got his first win. But Sainz, that was, well, we're going to talk about the halo in a bit. I mean, fortunately, there was a nasty wreck to start the race that involved several cars. I think, who was it? Albon was involved, George Russell, and then
George Russell, and then Zhou Guanyu.
Yeah.
I tuned in probably 15 to 30 minutes after that wreck happened, and I turned on the channel and I was like, something happened.
Yeah. Red flag in the first. See, and then the other thing that didn't get a ton of attention because of that, after the cars took off, protesters, and I don't know what they were protesting, went onto the track. And I'm just thinking to myself, it's like, I don't know what cause you're out here protesting for, what reason that you have. I'm not sure running into the middle of any kind of auto racing track while a race is in progress is a smart idea. I mean,
I heard they came on track after the red flag came out, but I really hope that's the case and that they didn't decide to come out if it had gone green.
Yeah, it's just like, what exactly are you going to do? I mean, you're going to be a bug on a windshield, like if you stay out there, and it's just, oof.
Yeah, I'm not sure what was going on there.
It's like that was
Luckily,
not.
Everybody's okay.
Yeah, I mean, that was okay. That doesn't seem to be very well thought through. So Silverstone, British Grand Prix, Lewis Hamilton finished third. Sergio Perez was second. Great run at the end, but I mean, we mentioned at the beginning that accident with Zhou Guanyu. That halo saved his life. There is no doubt about it.
I believe so.
If that would have been pre-halo, I mean, I don't even want to think about what would have happened. It just, this was so heavily criticized, both that and the aeroscreen in IndyCar. And it was just criticized because it looked dumb. It's unnecessary. And I think Max Verstappen was quoted saying something to the extent of, it's more dangerous to ride a bicycle in a city street. And I've got some things we put together. We're going to talk about the halo today.
I wasn't too sure what to think of it initially as well, but it's growing.
So the halo was required by Formula 1 through Formula 4, Formula Regional, and Formula E. And I think we all know it's a cockpit safety device that is made of straight up titanium. One of the hardest metals, if not the hardest metal known to man. Same material as your golf clubs. But this thing can take a beating. And I have the photo of Guan Yu's car. I mean, that is the photo. That's what his car did. It went upside down and it slid a pretty good distance, hit a wall of tires, and flipped over the wall. And I think most of us have seen it. We're going to watch kind of a little bit of analysis from the broadcast here in a second. But it was introduced in 2018. I mentioned that it was heavily criticized, but if you look at it, some of those names down there are pretty, pretty familiar to you. Charles Leclerc. I like to say that name, Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton, Romain Grosjean, and then a driver in F2, F3. All these drivers either would have been killed or severely injured if it wasn't for the halo.
Last week at Silverstone in the Formula 2 race, a car drove over the top of another.
Yeah.
So it could have been a very bad day at Silverstone if not for this.
Yeah, it's just, I think 2014 was the last time they had a death of a driver. I was reading about it earlier this week. I unfortunately forget the driver's name, but was in an incident in Japan. And it was several months in between the incident before he ultimately passed away. And there's just numerous experiences where, tires go over and crush the driver, or flying debris hits the driver. This was the whole purpose of this device. But I got a slide here. So
the whole thing too, George Russell got out and went to go check on him.
I wanted to bring that up too, because George Russell, I mean, that man is a gentleman right there. I forget who it was, but an IndyCar, I think it was one of the IndyCar drivers who raced with him at karting level, like flipped a cart, and he said George stopped mid race and got out to check and see if he was okay. He did that on, he ended up preventing himself from re-entering the race on Sunday because he got out of the car, even though it was a red flag condition. And then there was another clip that from Miami. He's walking and talking with one of the reporters, and next to him, back a little bit, Max Verstappen's walking. I think it was Max Verstappen's walking to his car and has the camera crew walking backwards, and they're just walking backwards, filming him walking towards the car. The common shot you see on TV. This reporter was about to get railroaded by this camera crew. And George Russell just happened to glance over his shoulder, see it, and grab her by the shoulder and pull her aside in time before she got flattened. I mean, that man is like the ultimate gentleman. And he's only like, 22, 23 years old or something like that?
I'm not sure right off.
I mean, he's we're going to look this up. I mean, we're already gone long here today. I don't care. We're looking up George Russell's age. 24. So, I mean, he's a kid. I mean, me at 24, no way. Yeah, he is the ultimate gentleman, and you know what? Good for him. He clearly cares about his fellow drivers, and he's been running well. It broke his top 5 streak, but he'll get his soon. I mean, he's a talented driver, and I think a lot of people will be very happy for him. On that note, we talked Halo. We're going to talk about the aeroscreen a little bit too. Red Bull actually developed the original aeroscreen, and the main difference between the Halo and the aeroscreen is you have the polyvinyl screen shield over where it's open on the Formula One car Halo. It was developed by Red Bull. Formula One did a test. They're like, and only one driver tested it, complained it made him dizzy. They abandoned the project, and IndyCar said, hang on a second. All right, we'd like to talk to you about that. So it was adapted to the Dallara DW12, and it was brought into service in 2020 at a staggering weight of 53 pounds or 24 kilograms for our friends across the pond. I mean, what do you recall? I mean, this was pretty heavily criticized too by everyone when this was announced.
Yeah, I saw it in Formula One first, and then it came into the Indy cars. I kind of wonder what's going on. And, growing up, Indianapolis is almost kind of like an open wheel purist of, is this open wheel racing anymore? But, they've done a great job. I know 2 of the biggest complaints that I've heard on both sides, it's hard to see because you have a post in the middle. And then at least with the Indy cars, they do talk more about the drivers trying to stay cool, and they don't get as much airflow in there.
Yeah, that's definitely a problem. So what drove this, and I believe it was the president of IndyCar back in 2015 in Pocono, the late Justin Wilson was killed in an incident where a piece of flying debris from Sage Karam's car broke off, went up in the air, and it came down and struck him in the head and died of blunt force trauma. I didn't want to show the real accident because, I mean, he died like a day later, but I found an animation which more or less shows the thing. I feel a little bit better watching this. And there's audio, but you can barely hear it. But, I'll try to describe what's going on here. So, Sage Karam lost it, hit the wall, a piece of the debris broke off. And if you're listening to this on a podcast, we'll post the videos at the bottom so you can watch it yourself. But you see this debris just kind of fly up in the air. And it was just a dumb accident, like absolute wrong place at the wrong time.
Yeah, I remember that race, such a sad race.
It was. And then Pocono, I can't remember if it was same year or year before, Robert Wickens had that nasty accident, and he's he's driving again, but I mean, I don't think he hasn't fully recovered from that accident. But yeah, it's just, yeah, the aeroscreen may have saved his life. It may not have, but we will never know. But this was ultimately what drove the aeroscreen discussion. One thing of note is Callum Ilott. Am I saying that right? Ilott.
Yeah, I believe so.
When you have announcers, especially, with I think Lee Diffie's a great announcer, but sometimes, he's Australian, and sometimes with his accent, I'm like, am I saying the name right? Is that just the Australian way of saying it? So sometimes I just don't know. This is loud, but this was Texas this year. There's some debris. Jack Harvey had an accident, and I missed it. I'm going to go back again, but you see right there, that red piece was his suspension wishbone from Jack Harvey's car, hit the aeroscreen head on. And that would have hit him square in the face, and who knows what would have happened to him had that aeroscreen not been there.
When watching that again, the air hose on the helmet actually came off, so it did deflect and catch the hose.
Oops. Oh, it did. Wow. I didn't even notice that.
I thought it was a scratch earlier, but looking at it again,
wow,
the hose came off. So that tells you where it was going, is even if it deflects up, it's still running that pretty shallow angle.
I mean, it's just, obviously racing is really dangerous, and the safety in all these series, top to bottom, has improved so much in the last several, over the last 20 years. I mean, we're not seeing, the amount of severe injury and death that we were seeing before. I mean, there was a point in the late 90s, early 2000s where we were seeing, I felt like, drivers dying left and right. Not necessarily
way too common thing.
Yeah, I mean, in the early 2000s, obviously Dale Earnhardt was the most high profile of them. Kyle Petty's son Adam, I believe, died in a wreck.
That was Loudon, Kenny Irwin, and
Kenny Irwin Jr., same track.
I believe Tony Renna at Indianapolis.
Yep, Tony Renna. A few years earlier, you had Scott Brayton die in an accident in practice.
Yeah, that was was it practice or qualifying?
I think he had already qualified. I think it was a practice after the qualification, because if I remember right, I thought he won the pole that year and then he died.
Yeah, I remember I watched the crash when it happened. It was crazy. Greg Moore, late 90s.
Yeah, Greg Moore. There was another driver in kart that just at like the week before at Laguna Seca who went over the wall of the corkscrew and died. I mean, it's just, you're not hearing that anymore, which is fantastic. And I think ultimately that's what we're talking about here. So final thing here before we're going to get to our Wednesday night dash preview and wrap this up. This is our longest show ever. We promised 10 to 15 minutes. We're liars.
So we're talking about some very important things.
Yeah. I mean,
what makes this possible for us?
I hope you learned something today, because I sure did. Right now the complaint with the aeroscreen, they said it was 53 pounds. They said it's too heavy. Or the car owners say it's too heavy and they want a lighter version. The version they're testing for 2024 should be ready. Or they're projecting right now it to be 18 pounds or 7 kilograms for you across the pond.
And my big question there is, it's going to be a lot lighter. Will it be able to withstand the impact?
Yep. And this is also very preliminary. So when the final comes out, it could be very, very different from now. The other complaint is it does not perform well in the rain, as you might expect. Like you drive in the rain without a windshield or without windshield wipers. It's kind of hard to see. And at the Indy Grand Prix back in May, any driver not named Colton Herta, who had to follow a car, couldn't see. One of the drivers complained that when they were coming into the pits, they couldn't see the pit wall and needed their spotter to guide them into the pit, which is pretty terrifying. And
you're trying to go at speed on wet track.
Yeah. Yeah. And, it's wet here. It's dry over here. I mean, it was terrific for television, but I mean, that had to have been absolutely terrifying for the drivers.
That would have been wild.
So
it was wild watching.
On that note, we killed the screen share. We're back. So Wednesday Night Dash next week. Back in the trucks. Talladega. Pure chaos.
Talladega. All there is to say, it's Dega.
Anything can happen, and it will. So we did a recruiting race there that was pretty exciting.
That was a fun race. Hopefully we can match that again.
And that hype video we made before the season was just taken from clips from Talladega. And it's still, I think since we started, that is my favorite video I've put together. I just, with the music and all the action, and we had people spinning, and, there was inside the car where you got whacked pretty hard on the side on one of the last laps.
That was their last lap.
Yeah. On the last lap, I finished third. I finished third last night too. I'm pumped about that. So we're excited. Check it out, stadiumscene.tv on their on their I'm
one of those social medias.
Yeah, one of those social medias. I actually got into my other show, Facebook, Twitter, no. On the Twitch and YouTube channel, we'll be there. I think I'm
broadcast on Stadium Scene, and then one of the two of us will be running an in-car perspective.
I think it's my turn for the in-car, so we'll bring back the Puma cam, or the Puma pedal cam. I got some fun compliments on that. It's just my footwork behind the pedal is needs some work, but still it's entertaining. And Puma, hey, partner. So I think that's about it.
It's gonna be fun.
Any final thoughts?
No, overall it's pretty good. Memories to the racers that have unfortunately passed doing what they do. We're still racing.
On the topic of Greg Moore, I was bidding on an autographed Greg Moore helmet today on eBay. Didn't get it. I was kind of bummed. It did exactly what I expected. Everyone was watching it, and the last minute, everybody just jumped in. I'm like, nah, I can't. My wife would kill me if I spent that much on an autographed helmet, but wasn't meant to be. Check us out, frracingonline.com, at frracingonline on all your favorite social media platforms. Be sure to watch Wednesday Night Dash next week at 10:15 p.m. Eastern for the broadcast, and 10 p.m. Eastern for the in-car view with my perspective.
Yeah, we'll see you on Wednesday. Thanks for tuning in and listening to us ramble on here.
Yeah. Hope you learned something today, and enjoy your weekend. We'll see you next week.
All right. Take care, everybody.